Hi everyone, welcome to another video. Today I am going to be doing a kind of like challenge thing. Basically, this idea came into my head and I thought that it would be fun to do. The idea is that I pick a author who is kind of beloved on BookTube, preferably one that I haven't read before, but maybe one that I've read a couple of books of and I need to finish off their collection. I vlog myself marathoning their books. You may have noticed in my library haul that I had a lot of books by a certain author. It may not have been that relevant to you, but I thought it would be quite fun, especially because there are lots of authors on BookTube that are raved about and who I have never read. If you have any suggestions for authors that I could like marathon in the future, then let me know in the comments below. The first one I'm going to pick is Ruth Ware because I found all of her books in the library, or at least most of them. Her newest book, The Turn of the Key, is already out now, so I'll be able to read her books in order and then go on to her most recent one. So I'm going to read her books in order. The first book is one that I could only get on my Kindle, and that is In a Dark, Dark Wood. I also have 3 Ruth Ware books here. I think the order I need to read these in is The Woman in Cabin 10, then The Lying Game, then The Death of Mrs Westaway. I know I definitely need to read this one last. I'm expecting all of these to be very fast paced. I'm hoping I can get through them in about a week, especially because Thriller-a-thon is coming up, so that would be perfect timing for those. And hopefully I'm going to vlog the entire thing, give you my initial thoughts and feelings, like as and when, and then give you a summary of how I feel about Ruth Ware's books. Do I think she's worth the hype? Do I love any of her books? Will I be reading them more from her in future? Because 5 books is, you know, quite a commitment for one author. I'm really excited. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this video. It's obviously the first day, so I don't know how this is going to turn out, but I'm going to start In a Dark, Dark Wood now, and then I'll let you know how I feel about it.
Good morning. I thought I would give you a very quick update on my reading because I've read a little bit of In a Dark, Dark Wood and I have a couple of thoughts. Not very like in-depth thoughts because I'm only 20% of the way through, but just a couple. First of all, it's very easy to read, but it's kind of average so far. There's nothing that's really gripping me. The main character isn't all that interesting, although she does have a mysterious past, so I'm intrigued by that. We're not sure why she stopped talking to the bride-to-be, and we're not sure what happened in Reading all of these years ago. My other thoughts is that some of the language, like as in dialogue used in this book, is, in my opinion, unrealistic. It's set in England and the characters are English. They're using words like picky for photo, and picky would be a term I've only ever heard used by people over 40, and these characters are my age. I cannot imagine anyone my age saying, oh, let's take a picky, we'll have to take a picky. It's throwing me off a little bit. One character called another Flopsy because her name is Flo, and I don't know if the tone is meant to be that it's meant to imply that these characters are upper class and kind of went to private school and had these cutesy nicknames for each other. They're certainly not working class, let's say that. Those are my only thoughts so far. I'm going to continue on. I have a feeling that I'm not going to love this book, but it is Ruth Ware's debut, so I'm not expecting it to be perfectly polished and I'm not expecting her to be kind of in her groove yet. This is just going to give me an idea of kind of what twists and turns she can come up with, because I think that shows a bit more creativity than the writing style necessarily would with a debut. So I'll get back to you once I've read some more, probably when I finish the book, unless something exciting happens. It's a couple of days later and I finished In a Dark, Dark Wood, and I have to say I was quite impressed. It's certainly not the best book I've ever read, but it was gripping. I enjoyed it. There were a couple of different turns it could have taken. I mean, I guessed it right, but it was a guess because it was between a couple of people without wanting to say too much. If Ruth Ware's writing continues to develop in the way that I hope it does, then, sorry, my hair's a bit crazy this morning, I haven't actually brushed it, then I definitely think that I will end up really liking her as an author. Considering this was her debut, it was a very, very strong debut, and hopefully her books continue to get better. I think I'll give In a Dark, Dark Wood 3.5 stars. It's definitely not an amazing book by any means, but it was definitely gripping. I enjoyed it. I had a few problems with the dialogue. It was just a bit silly. So that was that. I read it in just a couple of days, so I'm quite pleased with that. And I'm now going to start what I believe is her second book, and that is The Woman in Cabin 10. Sorry, I had to prop you up because I was getting arm ache. So I've read one page of this so far, and it started out with a home invasion. And from the back, it looks as though a travel journalist called Lo goes on a cruise as part of her job to kind of advertise the cruise. Someone dies in cabin 10, or someone starts screaming
in cabin 10. Yeah, Lo rushes to her window to see a body thrown overboard from the next door cabin. So I think that sounds very interesting. I think this is Ruth Ware's, like, one of her most popular books. I think this is the one that kind of kicked off her career, because I never heard of In a Dark Dark Wood before, and I haven't heard many people talk about The Lying Game. It's always The Woman in Cabin 10 and The Death of Mrs Westaway. I'm gonna start this one today, hopefully read it in just a couple of days, and then get back to you on my thoughts and feelings. Hey everyone, so I haven't updated you in a couple of days because I've also been doing bouts of books and vlogging that, so it's quite hard to juggle both things. But I've read a little bit more of The Woman in Cabin 10. I think last time I spoke to you, either I hadn't started it or I was like only a couple of pages in. So now I'm on page 99, and I have to say it's not as gripping as In a Dark Dark Wood. I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting to fly through this one, but instead I'm doing it in small chunks. It's taken me 2 or 3 days. When did I start? I think I started on Monday and it's now Wednesday. So it's taken me 2 days to read 99 pages, which is very unlike me for a thriller. I'm going to plod on this morning. I've got about 45 minutes before I have to get to work, so I think I'm going to drive there and then read in the car park. I'm hoping I can get more into this because it's one that I really want to love, but to be honest, I'm not all that intrigued by the mystery. The last chapter that I read, chapter 10, did just end really well. I'm going to read out the last sentence to you because it's on the back of the book, kind of like the summary. I just didn't read the summary because I never do that. The main character's just woken up in the middle of the night to screaming. She heard or saw a body be thrown overboard into the sea, and she saw a body shaped thing sink into the water. Some guys just said, I'm trying to explain Miss Blacklock. The cabin has always been empty. There was no guest in that cabin. There never has been. So she's maybe imagining a woman being in the cabin next to her. I think it's going to pick up from here. It's just, it hasn't picked up so far and there are only 200 pages left to go. I hope it does pick up because I wanted to love this one. So I've read a little bit more of The Woman in Cabin 10. I'm just getting ready to go to work, which is why I'm wandering around. And it is picking up a little bit more, I have to admit, so that's good. I'm just still not loving the book, and I feel like the tension in her other book, In Dark Dark Wood, was so much better. I'm hoping to finish it today so that I can then move on to the next book during my holiday this week. So I'm going to power through that and get back to you on my final feelings, hopefully this evening. Hi guys, it's been a few days now and I've finished The Woman in Cabin 10. I haven't had a chance previously to sit down and do kind of a small review for you, so here we are. I'm gonna have to say, I didn't love this book. I thought In a Dark Dark Wood was much better. This one kind of fell a bit flat for me. So I think my major issue with this one was the main character. She just talked a load of nonsense. There were paragraphs upon paragraphs of just rambling. I really didn't understand why. I think some reviews have said that the author was going for a portrayal of anxiety, and her thoughts here were meant to be her kind of rapid thought process as the main character was feeling anxious, but I didn't really get that from this book at all. It just felt like the main character was repeating herself over and over again. She was doing silly things like going around and telling everyone on the boat there was someone missing, and she didn't seem to really learn from anything, which was annoying because there was no character growth, which I would have really liked to have seen, because she started out as kind of a feeble, bumbling main character in the beginning and there was no growth there towards the end, which was a bit frustrating because I didn't really see the point of this book. The mystery part was okay, I quite enjoyed the twist, but because I didn't really feel for the main character, I didn't really care for the book. In addition, I also thought the ending was rushed, so that wasn't great. So I'm probably gonna give this one 2.5 to 3 stars. I'm gonna sit on it a bit longer, and then once I write a review on my blog, I will decide what rating to give it. So far, Ruth Ware hasn't been the best author for me. I quite liked In a Dark Dark Wood, it was decent, but this one just kind of felt very flat. Next, I'm going to pick up The Lying Game, which is Ruth Ware's 3rd book, and probably the one that people talk about the least, or perhaps that might be In a Dark Dark Wood. So it says here on the back that the main character heads back to her old boarding school. She used to have 3 best friends, and they used to play The Lying Game, which was a game in which they competed to convince people of the most outrageous stories. It says here that 17 years after they've left school, something terrible has been found on the beach and the friend's darkest secret is about to come to light. So I assume they've killed someone. I'm going to start this book tonight after I finish another couple of books. I will let you know what my initial thoughts are after I've read 50 pages or so. I'm really hoping this one is going to be a good one because I really like boarding school stories, and if there are flashbacks to boarding schools, then I think it's going to be good. Hi everyone, I'm not feeling too great at the moment, so please forgive the way I look, but I figured I wouldn't really have another chance to talk about The Lying Game before I finish it, so I wanted to give you like a midway point before I carried on reading and finished the book. I'm currently 150 pages into the book and I'm enjoying it a lot more than I was enjoying The Woman in Cabin 10, which is a relief because I was a bit worried that I was just going to dislike every Ruth Ware book from now on. Not too much has happened so far, but Ruth Ware is doing a really good job of laying down the mystery, I think. The adult women have just come together again in the town where their old school was. I've been introduced to the concept of the lying game, which is literally what it sounds like. It's also been hinted that something really bad happened when the girls were at school. So I'm very intrigued. I think Ruth Ware is doing a good job of building the mystery slowly. I'm probably going to finish this one today because I'm homesick from work, unfortunately. I guess at least that's given me some reading time. I don't really have any theories or anything yet because there isn't much to go off. I still don't know what the actual mystery could be. I think maybe the girls killed someone and that's all I know, so I literally have no idea. Another thing I'm really liking about this one is that the writing is a lot more coherent. That's what really put me off The Woman in Cabin 10, the fact that the writing was all over the place and then the plot didn't really go anywhere. It was just quite repetitive, but this one is very straight to the point. The main character is a bit more well written, I guess, and yeah, it's just going a lot better, which I'm really glad about. I'll carry on reading now and I might finish it today and I'll give you an update later. I've read another 100 pages and now I'm on page 240. I have some thoughts in terms of my theory. Kate's a freaking shady bitch. I don't know why no one else has called her out on the fact that when she found the person by herself and then dealt with it all by herself later and she sent the other girls back to school. I don't know, it just seems really shady to me, and in my opinion, Kate is shady. She's up to something. Hello everyone, I just wanted to let you know that I'm about to start the Death of Mrs Westaway by Ruth Ware. Obviously it's by Ruth Ware, this is my Ruth Ware video. This is probably her most hyped up book after The Woman in Cabin 10. This came out last year and absolutely blew up. So I'm expecting good things, even though I haven't loved her previous few books. I know that this is the book that convinced Kayla from Books and Lala to continue reading Ruth Ware's books because she absolutely loved this one. So what it's about is there's a woman called Harriet Westaway who learns that she's inherited an estate from her supposed grandmother, except she knows that, like, for sure, that her actual grandma died before she was born. So she goes to this house and basically wants the money. So she goes to sort of figure out what's going on, to figure out if she's able to scam these people. I'm looking forward to reading this. It sounds good. Tiny bit hesitant because the last book I read that was this hyped up by her was The Woman in Cabin 10. Obviously I didn't like that one, but I will let you know how it goes for me. I finished The Death of Mrs Westaway and this is Ruth Ware's best book yet. So I've liked 2 of 3 of her previous books, but this one is so much better. I don't know what happened here, like if Ruth Ware maybe got told to like what to do to improve her writing, or if she's just grown exponentially as a writer. But this book has gotten my hopes up for the turn of the key when I read it next week. I have to say The Death of Mrs Westaway is thrilling. I did admittedly guess the twist. However, it was a guess and it was based on one like massive clue that Ruth Ware put in there right at the beginning. I was paying attention because I really wanted to figure this out. A couple of other things did surprise me, so there was that. It was just so well put together and quite creepy as well. I wouldn't say the setting itself is creepy. It's set in like this old mansion that's falling apart and crumbling. Just the thought of what Harriet, the main character, was going through creeped me out a bit, and the fact that she had this whole supposedly secret slash fake family going on, that part was the creepiest to me. And I thought this was going to go down the incest route. I'm not going to say whether it did or not, but that creeped me out a bit as well. Overall, I guess I'm going to give this one 4 stars, and I'm now really excited for the turn of the key. I'm going to be reading it with my friend Justine, so I can't start until Monday and today's Wednesday, so I'm quite sad, but I'm also really excited to actually buddy read something with her because we sort of accidentally buddy read this because we started it around the same time. I'm just really impressed with this one. I'm so glad that Ruth Ware turned out to be a good author for me. I'm glad that I ended up enjoying one of her books a lot because I really enjoyed The Lying Game and In a Dark Wood, but after The Woman in Cabin 10 I was a bit disheartened because I wasn't too sure if I was going to love her books or not. The relationships in this one were really good, especially Harriet's relationship with her mother. I loved reading about that. I do think that Ruth Ware's books often have the potential to get darker, like a lot darker, and I think she sort of skims over it sometimes. So if you're looking for really dark books, Ruth Ware wouldn't be for you. This one was still really good, and I'm so excited to start the turn of the key in a few days. I might start early, hopefully Justine won't hate me.
I kind of just read the turn of the key in one sitting, so I haven't vlogged anything for this one, but I will get back to you on my thoughts and feelings once I've digested it a bit.
This is the end of my Ruth Ware vlog video. I guess I'm going to wrap up all of the books. I'm going to wrap up my thoughts on them and give you a quick summary of the books as well, because I'm not entirely sure how coherent my thoughts were, and I'm going to let you know which Ruth Ware book I think is best. So I'm going to start off with the book that I like the least and go all the way up to the best book of hers. The first one is The Woman in Cabin 10, which is her second book, and I gave this one 2 stars. It's about a travel journalist who is invited to go on to a luxury yacht for its maiden voyage because she is going to advertise it for her travel magazine. The first night that she is there, she sees a body be thrown into the water, but when she tells people what happened the next day, they tell her there is no person staying in cabin 10. As you can tell by my rating and my vlog, I wasn't a massive fan of this one. I thought it was very jumbled and I didn't like the way that the character's anxiety was portrayed, if it was meant to be portrayed in that way. Either way, I didn't enjoy it. A couple of things didn't really make sense at the end either. There were some inconsistencies there, which sometimes I can handle in a thriller, but other times I really need it to be tightly woven. I think overall this book felt rushed, and I don't know why. It's one of her most hyped up books. I guess the publisher did a really good job marketing this one. And then from here on out, I did really enjoy all of the books of hers that I read, so it was very hard to rank them, particularly these 2 middle ones. The next one I'm going to go for is The Lying Game. I gave this one 3.5 stars. This is about a group of school friends who were all at boarding school together, and then something happened in their 4th or 5th year, but they come back together because one of the friends says that they need them. They talk about this game that they used to play, which is The Lying Game. To be honest, The Lying Game itself didn't play a massive part in this, but I did really enjoy the relationships in this. I liked how the friends all came back together and kind of picked up where they left off because they hadn't seen each other in years. I really liked the twist in this one because I had half figured it out, but it turns out that I kind of got it backwards. So I thought it was really clever, and I really enjoyed the setting. I think the setting is what stands out the most to me because this is set by the seaside but also on the moors. It's very dark and dingy and creepy and foggy, and it's a really good setting. I would highly recommend this one. My third favourite Ruth Ware book is In a Dark Wood. This is her debut book and it's a very strong debut. This one is about a group of school friends again who come together for a mutual friend's bachelorette party. They stay in a cabin in the woods and spooky things start to happen, and that's all I'm going to say about the plot because it's not a very long book, so I don't really want to give it all away, but I did really enjoy this one. This is another one that is very atmospheric and creepy, and I love that it was set in a secluded house in the woods. I really like the main character as well. I think she's probably, I can't remember her name, but she's probably one of the most enjoyable Ruth Ware characters I've read about, and I think she's the one that stands out the most to me. Considering I read all of these 5 books really quickly, it's a wonder that she still stands out when I read this one first. Okay, so battling out for the top 2 are The Death of Mrs Westaway and The Turn of the Key. I really enjoyed both of these. However, The Turn of the Key was slightly better. So in second place is The Death of Mrs Westaway. This is Ruth Ware's book that came out last year, and in my opinion it's probably her most hyped up. I don't think The Turn of the Key has had a chance to, you know, get hyped yet, but this one, everyone was talking about it when it came out last year, and it's the one that was first on my radar. So this is about a woman called Harriet who receives a letter from a lawyer who tells her that her grandmother has left her an entire estate. However, Harriet knows that her real grandmother died years and years ago. This woman cannot possibly be her grandmother. Her mum is dead, so she can't ask her. So she decides to go to the estate, meet the family, and kind of get the money because she needs it. I was absolutely hooked by this one. I loved it. I'm going to give this one 4 stars. I love the main character. Harriet was fantastic, really interesting. She's also up there with the main character from In a Dark Wood, whose name I can't remember. And I really enjoyed the family dynamics because it's kind of like a found family thing in a thriller horror manner. It wasn't as like wholesome as you would want it to be. It was scary and creepy, but I still really liked that trope. I was left guessing right up to the very end with this one. It threw me off so many times because I thought I had figured it out, but then something else would happen and I would second guess myself. By the end, I had figured out what had happened because I should have trusted my gut instinct. It did a really good job of keeping me guessing, and I am so pleased with it. And now we're going to talk about The Turn of the Key because I haven't actually vlogged this one since I read it in one sitting. The Turn of the Key is about a woman called Rowan who goes to be an au pair for a rich family in Scotland. They live in this smart home in the Highlands, and while she is nannying, creepy things start to happen. She starts to hear footsteps. The book is told kind of in second person in that Rowan is in prison in present day for killing a child. We don't know which child she's killed, we don't know if she's actually done it, but she's writing letters to her solicitor to say that she didn't do it and this is why, so she's telling the solicitor her story. This is such a good book. I'm so close to giving it 5 stars, but I think it just wasn't quite there because I wanted a tiny bit of closure towards the end. It did close up really well. It summarised everything apart from a couple of things. So I think a tiny bit more development at the end there would have made this book perfect. So I'm going to give it 4.5 stars. It was really creepy. The footsteps and the creepy rooms and the smart house thing really got to me. I'm kind of scared of home invasion stuff. I don't really get creeped out by ghosts or demons or possession or anything like that, but I do get creeped out by home invasion, and this book really got to me. So The Turn of the Key I think is the best Ruth Ware book. If you were going to check out any of her books, I would recommend reading The Turn of the Key. It's fantastic. So those are all the books. I am so pleased that I did this challenge. I'm thinking about doing it with a couple of other authors as well. If you have any recommendations for authors, let me know in the comments below. I don't really know what else to say in terms of wrapping up this video. I didn't really, what did I learn from this? I learned that which Ruth Ware books were my favourite, and I learnt that I really enjoy marathoning authors because I haven't done that in a while. I have learnt not to always trust the hype, I guess, because of the woman in Karen 10. That was, you know, a poor experience. I'm just really excited to try this with another author. Thank you so much for watching my video. I don't know how long this is going to turn out because I haven't started editing it yet. I hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please like it so that I know that I should continue on with this series, and leave a comment below letting me know what your favourite Ruth Ware book is. Thank you so much for watching. I'll speak to you on my next one. Bye!